Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joe Pisapia. It's time to start and sit for Week 16. These are the players that we don't want in our lineups. We do want in our lineups, but we're going to talk right now about the ones that we do. That's right. To help us get all of that right is Andrew Erickson, the Undertaker himself, and, of course, D-Bro, Derek Brown, the king of pros, the king of bros, the king of all of it, who are going to help us get in and find the guys who are going to get us through round 2 and into the championship for week 17. But we got to do our work in 16 first to make sure we get all of our lineups right. And there's a whole lot of football too. We got games on Thursday, on Saturday, on Sunday. We got a bunch of games on Monday. So if you like football, this is the greatest week ever. And yeah, there's probably a holiday somewhere in between all that football, but don't worry, boys and girls. We're going to get you all the answers for the quiz here on our show. And of course, if you need more answers, go to fantasypros.com, the best tools on the planet to get you all set up for your starts and your sits. Let's talk about the RBs first, gentlemen, that we want to get in our lineups. And I want to go back personally to Bijan Robinson. I'm making a statement today. I'm wearing my t-shirt, my Bijan shirt, hashtag free Bijan. It's time. Can we please free Bijan this week? I see a huge overcorrection. If somehow you had a bye or somehow you made it through last week and you still got him, you get him back in your lineups. You don't have any fear. Well, maybe you have some fear, but you get him back in your lineups anyway. Derek Brown's going to disagree. We'll see. Let's get to Andrew Erickson first, since Derek wants to disagree with me. Let's start with you. Let's talk about an RB that you want to get in your lineup this week for week 16, round 2 of the playoffs.
I'm going with Jaylen Warren. I love the matchup here against the Bengals run defense. It's absolutely horrible. 27th in rushing yards allowed per game, 29th in run defense DVOA. They also lost DJ Reader, their best defensive lineman last week. And I think the Steelers are just going to run the football. You know, with Mason Rudolph starting at quarterback, they don't want to put him under a lot of pressure to go out and win the game because that's not going to work. At times, the Steelers offense has been its best when they've been able to establish the run. And I think they're going to be able to do so against an atrocious Bengals run defense. And when you look at last week's usage between Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren doubled Harris's snaps. Najee Harris lost a fumble. And I think Mike Tomlin is just sick of guys making mistakes, guys not putting in all their effort. So if Jaylen Warren, who's been the most explosive running back for the Steelers all year long, I think that he's going to get the rock here, get the majority of the touches. I think he's going to see a great performance here against the Bengals. So I'm trying to find ways to get Jaylen Warren into my lineup.
Over under the amount of Rudolph Christmas puns made on the broadcast, 3.5 over under.
It's going to be over because he's going to lead them to a victory as well. So.
Over. There you go. So it's shining through the darkness of the season, taking it through. You need him leading the front.
Here, oh my!
All right.
They needed somebody to. They needed someone on Christmas. We don't have Kyle Rudolph anymore, so we got to get someone else. We got to get Mason Rudolph in there.
His nose was so bright that time where Myles Garrett hit him with his own helmet. Boy, was his nose bright after that. All right, let's get to D-Bro for one of your guys that you want. It's true. Let's get to D-Bro for one of the RBs you want to start this week. And I love this guy. I got him in all my DFS lineups already. Who is it?
Chuba Hubbard, baby. And for everybody out there, put some respect on his name. Mm-hmm. Since week 12, he's the RB 11 in fantasy points per game. He's been averaging 23 touches and 98 total yards. We know that you can run on the Packers. It's the only thing that Carolina can do well outside of play pass defense. So if there is any sliver of hope for the Carolina Panthers to win this game, and it's a small sliver, but if there's a sliver of hope, it's going to have to ride with Chuba Hubbard.
All right. Look, the guy gets touches. Volume is king, and right now he's the king of that volume in that backfield. It makes a lot of sense. Let's go to Erickson for another must-start this week. Who do you have that's in the lineup at RB?
I'm playing Breece Hall. Look, I get the Jets are kind of in shambles right now, eliminated from the playoffs. My under bet on their 9.5 win total was the worst sweat ever of a bet I've ever made because it basically cashed after Aaron Rodgers got hurt in week 1. But the matchup is it's the Commanders. Like, the Commanders defense is just so bad against everything. We saw what they gave up against running backs last week and recently over the last 4 weeks, allowing the most rushing yards allowed to running backs. So Breece Hall talked about this week. They want to finish the season strong for them personally. So again, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be for New York, but I don't think it really matters. So I'm going to go with Breece Hall. They're done using Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook had 1 carry last week. And Izzy, the rookie that was getting work, he was seeing it in the second half. Like, I think they feed Breece Hall here. They try to end the season strong offensively with some of their skill guys. So I like Breece Hall.
All right. So Breece Hall is in at home. At least put on a show after the embarrassing loss you took out there on the road. Go home. Put on a show for those fans that show up for that game. Okay. It's the holidays. Do something nice for everybody, Jets. All right. D-Bro, give us another RB that you think is start worthy in week 16.
Well, the Texans plucked this guy off the island of misfit toys, but he's been performing extremely well, man. Devin Singletary, baby. Like, last week, 75% of the snaps, 30 touches, 170 total yards. He's going to keep motoring down the field, baby. And against the Browns, you can run on them since week 10, 6th highest rushing touchdown rate, 7th highest yards after contact per attempt allowed. We trust in motor. That's all I got to say, man.
I got a question. Going into next year, you think Dameon Pierce is not a piece of this backfield that we should be chasing?
I think he's not, because I think Houston, because Devin Singletary, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, on a 1-year deal. I don't know if they bring him back, and I think Houston's probably going to bring somebody else in.
Yeah, it feels like that too, potentially. But it's interesting because that was a guy we all thought, okay, rookie season, did some good things, and this year really went in the opposite direction.
Wheels
And Singletary got the opportunity, and Singletary was really good. Now, it does suck that when Pierce was, getting all the carries early on, that offensive line was a shambles. They were all hurt at one point in time, so that did not help. But I don't know if that's enough of a pass considering what Singletary's done. Erickson, what has the next guy done for you to make him start worthy? Because I think a lot of people might raise their eyebrow at this one, but you feel good about it.
Well, if you've rostered Deontay Foreman this year, last year, or any years of fantasy football, you know that this is the Deontay Foreman experience. He is the most boom or bust running back in the NFL over the last 3 years. Like, he has games where he's an absolute monster. He has games like last week where he rushes for negative yards. This is just the experience with Deontay Foreman because he's so matchup dependent. He's so volume dependent. He doesn't create a lot of opportunities on his own. It depends on how the game goes. Well, the Bears are playing at home as favorites against the Arizona Cardinals defense that ranks 31st in terms of rushing yards allowed per game to running backs. This is a spot where you want to play Deontay Foreman at home because I look at the snap share. I know that it's a three-way committee with Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert also playing in that backfield, but despite the fact he had negative 6 yards, he still led the team in carries. He still had 6 carries in the game. He still led the team in carries in the first half. He was still seeing all the usage in the red zone, and that's what matters. So, yes, I know Roschon had the most snaps. He's more working the passing game. If the Bears are winning this game comfortably, running the ball in December in Chicago and a dome team, Deontay Foreman's going to eat. So, I get the matchup was bad last week. Not the case this week. I think you go back to him. I think he has a lot of upside this week.
All right, fair enough. You made a good case, and I do think against Arizona they are going to be up. So you make a good case. D-Bro, a guy that hasn't done much since week 1, but hey, it's all about living in the present, and you want to live in the present with this Green Bay Packer running back.
Aaron Jones, man. I'm sorry, Matt LaFleur. I do not believe you that A.J. Dillon has a chance to play with his broken thumb. I hear you need thumbs to carry a football, to catch a football, to hold on to a football. So yeah, 2 of them. You need 2 of them. And A.J. Dillon's only got 1 that works.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't believe that he's going to play. So it's going to be Aaron Jones' backfield again. I think his snap share, like last week, he played 48% of the snaps. I think that inches up as long as we don't get any word that he came out of that game with any new injury. That probably inches up into the 50s this week. He's going to get all the work. And Carolina, we know you can run the ball. So Aaron Jones, he's going to be an RB2. Start him this week.
All right. Follow-up question for you on Aaron Jones. Does the fact that Carolina is really good against running backs in the passing game, make you want to shy away? Because that's where Jones hits. That's where he's best, as a receiver out of the backfield. But that's where Carolina has actually been good defensively, and the Packers' run game has kind of been, for lack of a better term, mid all year long. I know Dillon's been the main guy, but even with Jones, he hasn't been super effective as a rusher, particularly more of a receiver.
I think Jones, he hasn't been healthy all year, and I think if Green Bay, because like you talked about, Erickson, Carolina, we know they can play a good pass defense. If Green Bay wants a shot in this game, they're going to have to feed Jones on the ground, and I think you can still run the ball against Carolina on the ground. And the reason the Green Bay Packers rushing attack has been mid all year is because it's been powered by A.J. freaking Dillon, who can't do anything all year.
Yeah, I'll throw another caveat on there, too. With the toe injury to Jaden Reed, I think there's necessity here for Aaron Jones to work in the passing game, too. You might see some different setups here where they're getting him out there in space a little bit more in some clever ways, maybe some screens out there too for him. I just think you're going to see Aaron Jones out of necessity, maybe get a couple targets that they just need.
Or they're going to use more of Kenyon Drake.
Let's not say things like that. It's too late in the year for this. Let's not do that to ourselves. Okay. One thing that we could tell from this show and our demeanor is that the football season has been a long one, but it's still going strong right now. And it's time to unwrap this holiday season, more nonstop football action. And the holiday season is time to throw down some big matchups over at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. This week, new customers can bet just $5 on the NFL and score 150 in instant bets right now. You can go back and look at that prediction show, some things that we're very much on. We're on that Javonte Williams under. I was in on the 45.5 number. It came out at 55. Smash it. Stuff like that. You take that information, you go ahead and you make some cash for yourself at DraftKings. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook now and go ahead and use that promo code FantasyPros when you do. New customers can bet just $5 on the NFL and score just 150 instantly in bonus bets. That's it. Oh my God, what an incredible offer this is. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with that promo code FantasyPros. The crown is yours. Gentlemen, let's go to the Who Should I Start game, powered by fantasypros.com/start. That's our tool where you can put all the guys together, and the ECR gives you the right guys to start according to the experts in the fantasy community. You two experts, I'm going to ask you this one. Breece Hall or Aaron Jones, D-Bro, who would you rather start? This is one of your guys and one of Andrew's guys, so I'm pinning you against each other.
I'm going to go Breece. I believe that the matchup is fantastic for him, and the Commanders have basically quit on this season, so give me Breece.
Okay, Erickson, look at that. He picked your guy. Would you have also picked your guy, just out of curiosity?
Yes, I will pick my guy, Breece Hall.
All right. How's this next one for you? One of your guys here from D-Bro's bucket, Chuba Hubbard or Ken Walker. Erickson, which guy would you rather get the start here?
Got to play Chuba Hubbard. Man, the Chuba Hubbard's going to continue to smash, man.
Yes, sir.
I think he's too low in the ECR this week. Like, personally,
like ECR?
He's at 22 right now.
Oh my God, it's so low. I have a 15. I have him at 15. And I can move him higher, too.
I've got him at 13.
D-Bro, Barkley against the Eagles or Chuba Hubbard against Green Bay. I know this is like a crazy thing, but someone asked me this and I said
20.
Hubbard. Would you say
my top 20? Barkley's outside my top 20. Like, yeah. Hubbard, easy.
So Hubbard. There you go. Look, I know it sounds crazy to do some of these things. And we also very often preach on this show, like, okay, let's not go too crazy and all these things. But we are at a point in the season where offenses are who they are. Teams that have been eliminated have been eliminated. But at the same time, we're talking about the amount of volume and opportunity. Give yourself the opportunity for fantasy points. And Chuba Hubbard, I think, is going to get so much opportunity, guys, that you can't ignore it. And I think right now the ECR ranking is ignoring the volume too much and looking too much about the deficiencies of the Carolina offense. And there's many, and I get it, Derek.
It's ignoring the fact that he's been an RB1 since week 12. Like, it's not even the fact that, like, we're not wish casting here. He's been an RB1, and we've been ranking him too low for weeks.
And the only games that he hasn't been was the 2 games where he didn't score touchdowns. Like, and I get that. Okay, so you want to have that touchdown, but especially in these standard leagues too, you just take that volume and run with it if you're still in those standard formats. Let's talk about the wide receivers, gentlemen, and some guys we get excited about playing this week. D-Bro, why don't you go ahead and it is slim pickings around Jacksonville. Is that a good thing for Calvin Ridley?
I think it's going to be a good week for Calvin Ridley. And I know that Trevor Lawrence, we don't know if he's going to play or not, working through concussion protocol, so he could get the CJ Beathard show. And I understand there's concern there. But this Tampa Bay secondary has been terrible all year. This game is probably going to shoot out as long as if Beathard can play good, if Lawrence is out, this game is going to shoot out and Ridley's going to go along for the ride, man. Tampa Bay, over the last few weeks, big single high team, and Calvin Ridley is eaten versus single high. 25% target share, 29% first read share. None of the corners for Tampa Bay can cover him. Start Calvin Ridley.
All right, Erickson. I can't believe on the start portion of the show you've got 2 Jets you're talking about today. How does that make you feel?
Oh dear.
Yeah,
makes you feel great because they're playing the Commanders. You know, that's the analysis. They're playing the Commanders. Number 1 matchup for wide receivers. Look, Garrett Wilson has been steady for most of the year, despite having horrible quarterback play basically every single week. So, look, I'm just going to continue to go back to Garrett Wilson. Look, even if Trevor Siemian starts this game, Wilson saw 6 of Trevor Siemian's first 12 pass attempts. Like, he's going to hyper-target Garrett Wilson at will against a matchup that is super, super soft. So if Garrett Wilson's ever going to have a spike week, regardless of whoever the quarterback is, it would come against the Commanders with, again, the Jets offense has stuff to prove. Like, guys like Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, who came in with the season with big expectations, obviously did not live up to them based on the quarterback. But they know that in this matchup, hey, we can pad the stats. Like, let's do it. So I'm riding Garrett Wilson, riding Breece Hall.
I understand the Hall one. The Wilson one is tenuous for me. Gentlemen, you want to take a guess at how many passing touchdowns the Jets have so far this year?
Oh, good
See what that
Lord.
number might be? Total passing touchdowns for the New York Jets.
7.
9.
It's 9. Did you know that, Erickson? You said that very quickly.
No,
Yeah,
I
he knew it.
No, I did not know it. I did not know it.
I believe you.
No,
I believe you.
I didn't know it.
I believe you. You're an honest
I
man.
like in my mind, I was like, it's not 10. So I was like, one less than 10.
By the way, it's worse than the league. Only ahead. You want to guess who's ahead of them real quick? What team is ahead of them with 10? No, it's not the Patriots. The Patriots have 14. They are way ahead.
Wow.
Passing touchdowns. Passing touchdowns is a fun
Bears?
quiz for our audience. No, it is. Debro, you want to take one shot?
Ooh.
I'll give you a hint. They've been through 3 quarterbacks this year. There's your hint.
It's the other team that plays in that stadium. It's got to be them.
No, it's not. It's the Steelers.
Oh, wow.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have 10 passing touchdowns all
I'm
year.
convinced Kenny Pickett is allergic to touchdowns. I cannot throw touchdowns.
All right, let's get back to Debro. The Joe Flacco train has been rolling along. Now it rolls into Houston, and you feel pretty good about Amari Cooper.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, Joe Flacco's getting all these passing attempts. He has at least 44 passing attempts in every game he started this year. Like, that's insane. I mean, so we're chasing the volume here, and Amari Cooper's been productive. Houston's been giving up a ton of production to wide receivers. Since week 9, 6th most PPR points per target allowed to perimeter wide receivers. So, yeah, start Amari Cooper confidently as a wide receiver 2 this week.
Okay, this is fun. I was looking at this because Joe Flacco has 7 passing touchdowns, and he's played 3 games.
Oh, dear.
And the Jets have 9, and they've played more than 3 games as a team.
So in 3 games, he's matched the Steelers' output for the entire year. Is
no,
that
not
right?
matched. He's 2 behind the Jets. He's 2 behind the Jets.
Oh, my God.
He's got
that's
7.
Terrible.
They have 9.
That's absolutely terrible.
Yeah. Almost the Steelers, too. I mean, they're right off there, So, all right. On that note, Andrew,
some jokes write themselves, boys. Some jokes write themselves.
These are just the facts. Tell me where I'm telling lies. All right, let's go to Erickson for another guy you feel good about. This time we're going to go to Minnesota. Who's the man?
Jordan Addison was very shockingly, pleasantly surprised about how productive he was in Nick Mullins' first game. 6 catches, over 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And that was while Jefferson was in the lineup. So the concern with Jefferson coming back was, okay, Addison's not going to see as many targets, which kind of reigned true. But his efficiency gets a massive boost because teams are doubling Justin Jefferson left and right, which leaves Jordan Addison one-on-one, and he's facing the Lions. Like, this is a prime matchup for him to continue to take advantage. So even if he doesn't see a ton of volume, Addison has shown, hey, I only need 5 or 6 targets every week, and I can get it done with big plays. So I love going back to Jordan Addison. Was hesitant about him last week just because I wanted to see it. I saw it. He proved it to me. It's another great matchup. The Lions are 30th in DVOA against number 2 wide receivers. So they try to stop number 1s. I think they're going to try to do that against Justin Jefferson. And that's going to leave Jordan Addison one-on-one in very favorable matchups. So I have him as a top 24 guy this week. So I feel really good about starting the rookie.
Yeah, Addison's best work, I feel like, has been when Jefferson's been on the field because he hasn't been asked to do too much. And you're right, the efficiency goes through the roof. All right, one more guy, Debro, for you that you want to start at wide receiver in round 2 of the playoffs. Who is it?
I know Erickson's not a big fan of this guy, but I'm starting Tyler Lockett confidently this week. Chef Gino is going to be back under center, so we don't have to deal with the Drew Lock show. And if you look at the coverage matchup for Tyler Lockett, and this is why I'm so big on him this week, Tennessee since week 11, 7th highest rate of too high. That's not DK Metcalf's bag. Against Duke too high, since week 8, Tyler Lockett, 20.6% target share, 44% air yard share against too high, 26% first read share. Tyler Lockett is going to lead the Seattle passing attack this week. So Tyler Lockett, we talked about guys we're confident in. I've got him as a top 20 wide receiver this week.
All right, you're confident in Lockett, but you, my friend Andrew Erickson, are confident in another Seahawks wide receiver, and his name is not DK Metcalf. Who is it?
Oh,
Future is now Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Titans are the 8th best matchup for slot wide receivers, so I love JSN. I think that he's my favorite Seahawks receiver in this particular matchup. Again, we're going to get Geno Smith back, and I know that JSN's had some good chemistry with Drew Lock, but I mean, that touchdown catch he made, JSN is good, man.
Oh,
He's
he's
just a
so
really good wide
baby.
receiver. He's going to be someone I'm going to be targeting aggressively in drafts because, again, we talked about this in the offseason, but you get discounts on number 2 wide receivers on teams. So even if Lockett is gone and he's the number 2, he's still going to be drafted behind DK Metcalf just because that's how projections are going to kind of stack things up. It's going to make him a discount in drafts when we can look up at the end of 2024 and it's like, oh, what do you know? He was the number 1 receiver on the Seahawks. He outscored DK Metcalf. We've seen Lockett outscore Metcalf so many years in a row when Metcalf always got drafted ahead of Lockett that we're probably going to see the same thing again happen with Smith-Njigba. So, yeah, I love JSN this week.
What a perfect
I was going to
segue.
throw it in there. I was going to say JSN is going to be their number 1 wide receiver next year. So, love it.
All right, gentlemen, let's play a little game of Who Should I Start? Noah Brown back in action here, potentially, for the Houston Texans, or Adam Thielen against Green Bay. So these are desperate times here, Derek Brown. Which one of these is the desperate measure you want to take?
Noah Brown. I'm going to take the number 1 wide receiver for the Houston Texans.
Even though it's a tough matchup against the Browns, you're still going that. It's a
tough matchup, but Adam Thielen, what has he done over the last few weeks to where we want to get him in lineups? What?
He hasn't done anything since like week 5. Whenever it was victory lapping, Adam Thielen was such a good pick. And then what?
Well,
is he going to help you in your fantasy championship? No.
Hold the phone. In week 14 against your New Orleans Saints, 5 for 74. That's a nice 12.5 point day right there, basically. In PPR
Is that winning your week? The 12 points? Is that gonna win your week?
12 points is better than a goose egg. I don't know. I mean,
what's the other game logs look like there, Joey?
Not great in the last few weeks. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. 8 for 11 against Dallas in week 11. Week 12 was, 1 catch. Let's not talk about that. Against Tampa. 3 for 25.
Stop.
Start Noah Brown. This all comes down to start Noah Brown.
The Browns turn into the Brownies when they play on the road on defense. Let's be honest here.
Stirring the pot. All right, I'm going to stir the pot with you. Jaxon Smith-Njigba, Erickson, or Brandon Cooks. They're back-to-back in ECR. Who would you rather play?
JSN. Yeah, I think that's easy for me.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just saying they're back-to-back, so people might wonder. So I'm glad you settled that debate.
Now, Joe.
The future is now.
Start the young bucks, not these old guys.
That's right. Let's start all those guys. Let's get to the must-start QBs of the week. Andrew Erickson. Let's kick it off with a guy that we've kind of hinted at and mentioned already on the show.
Speaking of young bucks.
Speaking of young bucks, let's talk about this guy.
Not by age, but by attitude.
Get these old guys out of here.
Joe Flacco is my must-start quarterback. He is elite. Last 3 weeks, first 3 starts of the year, QB 13, QB 10, QB 9. The Browns have a 10% plus pass rate over expectation with Joe Flacco quarterback. So they're basically just like, Joe, drop back, throw lasers left and right. The matchup against the Houston Texans is great. It's a top 10 matchup for fantasy quarterbacks. So, look, it sounds really weird that we're in 2023 and Joe Flacco is still elite and he's going to lead teams to fantasy football championships. But that's the reality in the world that we live in right now. So start Joe Flacco.
Sounds like another Joe that I know who plays quarterback in the FantasyPros league here in our flag football, where you just say, Joe, just go be elite, sit in the pocket.
You're a better H-back. Let's throw that out there.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm versatile is what I am. At the end of the day. I am versatile. All right, let's go to you.
Deceptively quick.
I am. I might not be fast, but I am deceptively quick off the line. I get open. All right, let's go. I'm scrappy. That's what they call me. I'm a hustle player. That's what Bogman would call me. All right, let's go. D-Bro, I love this next one, too. He's in all my DFS lineups. I can't get away from him this week, so let's talk about the QB down in Florida, but it might not be the one y'all are thinking about.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's not the one y'all are thinking about. It's Baker Mayfield, baby.
You're welcome.
I heard you there. It's Baker Mayfield, man, and he's been playing extremely well. He's really found himself in this offense and resurrected his career, and the resurrection tour continues this week. Jacksonville can't stop anybody through the air, man, so doesn't matter whether it's Trevor Lawrence, doesn't matter whether it's CJ Beathard, Baker Mayfield's going to have himself a game, man.
All right, let's stick with you here, D-Bro. Give us a tight end who... Talk about all of a sudden getting the best out of a piece. We've been waiting for years with an S. It's plural for this guy to break out. And it took an elite level Joe to break him.
Dude, David Njoku has been the truth. He has been the truth. I mean, since week 7, all the way since week 7. He's the tight end 5 in fantasy. And I understand, like, I bring up this name and people are going to say, well, duh, I'm starting him. In a lot of places, if you have David Njoku in your, like, on your team, he's not your top tight end.
No.
Like, you probably drafted somebody else. You've been starting somebody else, but you need to find a way to get David Njoku into your lineup, like in the flex, whatever. Like, he's going to crush, man. Houston has allowed the 4th most fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. Joe Flacco's feeding him a ton of volume. The Cleveland Browns of the year 2023 are a pass-first offense. Start David Njoku.
Could not agree more. And look, to your point, it's a very good one. I would play him over George Kittle. I would play him over Ferguson. Yep. I would play him over Evan Ingram, especially with
Would you play him over Kelsey?
No, Kelsey, Laporta, McBride are still up there. The one that's an interesting conversation is Hawkinson, especially with Mullins.
I play him over Hawkinson.
That is the conversation.
David Njoku as tight end 3 this week. Where do you have Erickson?
Who, Kelsey or Hawkinson?
No, Njoku.
Njoku. He's 5 in ECR. But I mean,
I have Njoku over Hawkinson.
To your point there, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to really start to look hard and long at this, because these guys that you've had here you've been starting, and to Derek's point, Njoku was a late waiver wire ad guy that you added, and okay, it was really good another week, and then 2 weeks in a row, it's just unbelievably good. You're not seeing this kind of productivity everywhere at tight end. You're just not seeing it. It's on a whole different level.
This is blasphemous, but I will start David Njoku over Sam Laporta this week.
That, I think, is a bridge too far. That I won't do. I still want Sammy Ballgame. In fact, shame on you. Shame on you for throwing shade at Sammy Ballgame.
Where do you have Njoku this week, Erickson?
6.
Oh, so you are lower than ECR.
Not enough
Shame
love.
On you, Andrew Erickson.
By one spot.
Not enough love.
Shame on you and shame on you.
Christmas.
Shame on both of you.
All right,
let's get to the next tight end that we want to stream. Erickson, who is it?
Hunter Henry. Number 1 matchup for tight ends against the Denver Broncos. He's been super productive with Bailey Zappi over the last 2 weeks. And I will say, with the caveat that he is dealing with a knee injury, and if he misses the game, I feel confident playing Mike Gesicki, because Mike Gesicki is going to have that role as the tight end 1 in the offense. Mike Gesicki, when Hunter Henry missed part of the game last week in the second half, Mike Gesicki immediately came in and was immediately targeted. Like, and it was funny because I was watching the game with my parents thinking like, oh, like there's Gesicki. So yeah, because Henry's not in the game. Like, that's why Gesicki's going to get targeted. So I know that this year's obviously been super disappointing for anyone that was looking at Gesicki as a tight end option, but the Patriots couldn't really deploy this 2 tight end set that they really wanted to. But if he is the featured guy, the number 1 tight end in this offense, I think that you can stream him with confidence this week. I think he'd be a top 15 tight end. If you were hurting or you were just going to plan on playing Henry, I think you can swap Gesicki for him straight up.
And staying in that same game, your streaming defense of the week is the Denver Broncos.
Correct. The last 3 home games that they've played, they've been a top 10 DST. They're playing Bailey Zappi. I don't think you need much more analysis than that.
I don't know. Bailey Zappi on the road in Pittsburgh looked pretty good the last couple of weeks ago, but that's all right. Point taken. I think you're right.
Well, I mean, TJ Watt literally wasn't like playing half the game.
I know. That's
he
true.
was a concussion.
That's true. By the way, go bet TJ Watt to lead the league in sacks, because look at the matchups he's got coming up. It's one of my favorite bets on the board in the futures market right now. You're getting plus 175, I think, at FanDuel on that one. D-Bro, give us the streaming defense, the defense you want to start this week that, again, doesn't surprise me. I'm in on it, but you and I see eye to eye on this one.
I'm just starting a defense that's been a top 5 defense since week 10, week 11. The Bears. If they're out there, pick them up. Play them over San Francisco, play them over Baltimore, play them over Dallas, play them over Buffalo, play them over all of these freaking defenses that have the name cachet.
Over packages, boxes, and bags. It was very Dr. Seuss of you there. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I agree. I agree. They've been consistent these last few weeks too. Double digits. Take the points. Would you play them over KC? Someone asked me that question the other day. Yes. I said yes. I would, because they have been a little up and down too. Same with the Jets. Jets kind of up and down too sometimes. A little tricky. All right. Gentlemen, great stuff as always. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, everybody. Make sure you also, this time of year, if you've enjoyed all the shows and you've been listening to all the shows, go ahead and drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts or wherever you're absorbing all this information from Fantasy Pros. It's a great way to thank us for all of the work all year long. We don't ask for much, but it's a nice thing to do in the spirit of the holidays. So drop a nice 5-star review on Spotify, on iTunes, or wherever the heck you get the Fantasy Pros podcast, because we are everywhere, and hopefully all your teams are everywhere next week as well. We wish everyone a great holiday season here from all of us here at FP. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For D-Bro and Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.